How's it going, my aristocrats? Hope you're all doing well today. Coming back at you with another one of these videos. And today, first things first, I do want to talk about the fact that the channel is changing direction a little bit. I have been putting out some more job market stuff as of the past couple of months, and that is what I will continue to put out a little bit more because I feel like it's an issue that's a little bit more relevant. It is. Not to say that the self-improvement stuff entirely will stop, because of course self-improvement first of all never stops. It's a journey that never stops. But second of all, I will continue to also put out self-improvement content, but the job market specifically is one that is so relevant to our generation. It's very relevant to our generation because so many young people are coming out of college, and we've been pushed into this mentality that we have to go to university and pursue a degree and then get a high-paying job afterwards, only to get out of university and find out that there is no high-paying jobs available right out of university. Not to say that there are no exceptions. There are some people who are exceptions and who get high-paying jobs right out of university if they're talented enough, but that is very, very rare. That is very rare. It happens on an almost micro scale in today's world. So, a little bit of background on this in my case. I went to school for 6 years. I got my bachelor's in Homeland Security. I got my master's in history. And I struggled in the job market for about, I want to say, a year and a half after I graduated. And it was in that time, it was a very, very hard time in my life. I mean, it was extremely difficult. It was very depressing. It was very grueling and cruel and all sorts of things you could think of. But I did learn a lot of lessons from that time. And now, currently, I work in academia as a career advisor. I work as a career advisor. I work with academic advisement as well and things of that nature. So I work a lot with students. And that being said, if you do want to have one-on-ones with me, I will have my Discord link down below for those of you who want that and who are interested in that. But anyways, back to the topic of today's video. It's such a relevant issue to talk about because of the fact that even just 50, 60 years ago, young men were coming out of college with high-paying, or rather high-value degrees, I should say, and getting high-paying jobs that could support a family on one income. But over the course of the past 50 years, we've seen a decline in the value of labor due to things such as mass immigration or AI, automation, jobs moving overseas to China and India, and globalization in general. There are so many different causes that go into it, but nonetheless, the fact still remains that the value of labor has decreased to the point where one cannot support a family on a single income anymore. That being said, what has also decreased is the amount of jobs available to college graduates. Unfortunately, when one graduates from college nowadays, there are so many different hurdles that they must overcome because due to the decrease in value of labor and due to the decrease in jobs, rather, I should say, there is an increase of requirements for those jobs, an increase of experience requirements, I might add. Because unfortunately, coming out of college, one doesn't really have much experience unless you interned or did something of that sort, or even worked in that field previously in some capacity. But nowadays, you're coming into a job market. You're coming into a job market where there's a lack of experience because we were spending so much time in school and studying and trying to get good grades and all that stuff. And coming into a market where every single thing in our field, even the entry-level jobs, require experience. And so it becomes a feedback loop of, we're coming into the job market, going for entry-level jobs that require experience, but how are we supposed to get that experience? Through working in that field prior. But how do we work in that field prior? We apply for jobs. But how do we get those jobs? We need experience. So it becomes a negative feedback loop. It becomes a feedback loop of, oh, you need experience, you need experience, you need experience, and it gets hammered into your head over and over and over again with every job application. That being said, in future videos on this channel, I will certainly delve into the topic more and about some tips that I had to overcome the job market and tips that I had to get through this difficult time, or the difficult time that I was having, rather, and which I imagine many of you are having right now. But one of the tips that I will leave you with in this video that is so important, and it's kind of vague as well, is simply I'm laughing because it's like such a simple tip. It's literally so simple. But to simply put your best effort forward into not only the application part, but when you get to your interview, you need to show them your best effort in the sense that you need to show proof. Once you get that interview, if you've had previous jobs, if you had previous class experience or things like that in regards to whatever field you're applying to be in, especially pertains to jobs that are in your field of study, show the results of your experience. And I'll give you an example. I currently work as a career advisor. I currently work with academic advisement. I work a lot with students at a university level. But before that, when I was still a student, when I was in my master's program, I was a student advisor for student support services. So I was a graduate assistant, but I was also working with students, and I was also working with counseling and things of that nature. So what did I do? At the end of my time as my GA position, I had to compile an end of year report. I had to compile like all my spreadsheets and everything, and I had to give it to my boss and be like, oh yeah, like this is my proof that I was doing my job. But the thing with that is, unfortunately, I had to leave my GA position because I was graduating, so I couldn't have a GA position anymore. GA, for reference, is graduate assistant. But I couldn't have that position anymore because I was graduating. So what did I do with the interview for my current job? I took those pieces of evidence from my last job, from my end of year report to my spreadsheets and everything. I printed them all out and I compiled them, and then I put them all in a manila folder and I brought it into my interview. And I put everything on the table. And bear in mind, this is after I'd been struggling in the job market for some time, and even after I'd gotten some interviews. I put everything out on the table and I said, this is the evidence of everything that I've done. This is the evidence to prove that I can do this job, especially because the job I was applying for was right up the alley of what I'd worked in previously. So I compiled everything. I compiled every bit of evidence, every spreadsheet, every end of year report, every whatever, and I put it all out on the table and said, this is the proof that I can do the job. And they took one look around, they looked through the evidence, they looked through the sheets and everything, and they said, okay, this is all great, and this is really great to see, and all of that. And they were asking me some questions about that, and then eventually I ended up getting the job, which I suspect was in large part due to the fact that I provided evidence. It's so important to show the results of your work. It really is. So even if you're doing volunteer work, even if you're doing, something like that on the side, or even in your internship or whatever, post about it on LinkedIn, do something with that, or even put it in your resume. Ask them for some kind of credit. Ask them for a letter, or a letter of recommendation, or a letter to show that you did the work, or something like that. There's so many ways to be accredited for things that you're already doing. That being said, if you guys want more specific advice, the Discord server link will be down below, and I will be more active in the server for those of you who are active in there to help you guys out and to provide some advisement and things of that sort to you guys. So that being said, that's what I'm going to leave you with in today's video. We are going to have a change of direction of the channel, talking much more about job market stuff, and I will, as I said, leave you with the piece of advice that I just gave you. Thank you all for your time, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.